Hi guys, it's what today is today? Actually, today is Saturday, January 5th, 2013. First video of the new year. Happy New Year to everybody. Thank you for all the Happy New Year wishes that we received. Very cool stuff. Been very, very cold this week. The daytime highs have been just anywhere from 26 to 30 degrees, and at night we've been dipping down into the single digits. So it's kind of cold for us, rather unusual, but it's supposed to warm up a little bit. So outside right now it is a balmy, I don't know, 22 degrees, 23 degrees, something like that. So we're in the garage and we got our heater going, and we're working on our 1988 Subaru Hatchback today with our fuel tank issue. The fuel tank we've looked at a little closer. We've kind of got into it a little bit with some long tools and some lights and scraped around, and pretty much have discovered that there's not much left at the bottom of the tank. The rust that's coming out, I don't know if you can get a good thing of it, is about that thick. So it's not really, those tanks aren't that thick to start with, and it's not really leaving an awful lot of metal on the bottom of the tank in places. I did find a guy in town that uses some chemicals and boils out fuel tanks, gets them nice and clean, guarantees them to be clean and free of rust. And so I says, well, what the heck, it was $100 for him to do it. And so I took it down, let him looked at it, and he just said, nah, I'm not going to do it. And he said, the chances are pretty good that it's going to come out of my equipment and there's not going to be anything left to the bottom of the tank. So I said, okay, we'll go a different way. So I've spent hours and hours and hours searching. I've been to all the local wrecking yards. I've been online checking it around. I can't find a tank for this car. The fuel tanks, this is a hatchback, and the fuel tanks for the station wagon and the four-door sedan with four-wheel drive, I did find they are different. They're a larger capacity tank, and they do mount up differently. They don't fit inside this thing here without some modifications, but the ones that I saw weren't a heck of a lot better than the one I've got. So, not one to be discouraged, we've gone to plan B, and that's what we're going to be working on probably in the next maybe 2-3 videos. I don't think I can do it all in one video. I'll show you what we've done, and we've got our car in here today. Of course, the oil's been in here. It's on the with our heater. It's on the roll around. We just kind of roll it around inside the shop here. What we're going to be putting in it is this. This is a 15-gallon fuel cell from RJS Racing. Plastic cell. It does have foam on the inside of it for sloshing around. Kind of, okay, you can see that. It's got foam in there. Single pickup. This is, the stock tank was 11.9 gallons. Like I say, this is 15 gallons. So we're going to have approximately a little more than 3 gallons more fuel capacity. That one hole, other hole in the top, gets this. This is a vent valve and a rollover valve. If the car's like that, car goes upside down. There you go. Car goes upside down. The ball drops down, shuts off the fuel, so fuel can't run out of it. When it's right side up, it vents the cell. So we're going to put that in. Now, question: where are we going to put it? We're going to put it right there. We're going to put it right here, up inside the car. With adequate venting, it should be fine. Seal it off. We'll metal pipe it down through the floor. There's a cover that goes here when we get the cell in, because for emissions testing here, this fuel cell is not legal. By the time we get done, I think we can have it in there so that the really sharp guys at the emission test center won't even know it's there. So that'll be kind of cool. And the only thing that's kind of an issue is that we don't have a provision in this for our fuel gauge sending unit. And I'm not really good on the idea. This fuel cell, by the way, sold for $109. So, you know, I've been to Napa and Home Depot, and I've got some hardware and some fittings and some hose. So by the time all said and done, we're in this about $225, all said and done. And we'll see what we can do. We are going to have to drill a hole in this and I'm going to put our original sending unit in, and that way we'll have a fuel level gauge in our cell. The one thing that I have discovered is the gauge, the resistance that the gauge wants is basically, I think it's 3 to 5 ohms resistance at full, and it's about 95 ohms resistance empty, which makes it exactly opposite of all the fuel senders that you can get in fuel cells and so forth. They typically have the General Motors style, which were 0 ohms empty and 90 ohms full, which is exactly opposite, so the gauge would not function with that. Now, how I know how that gauge works is I have this kind of cool little tool right here. This is something I've had for a long time. Got it from Snap-on. And what this does is it creates resistance, measured resistance. And here, I can tell you what, I'm going to shut you guys off for just a sec. I'm going to hook this up and kind of show this off a little bit, because this really is a very neat little tool. And it's the kind of thing, if you ever see one, you know, on the tool truck, I don't think it was a lot of money. I would recommend picking it up. Let me hook it up, and we'll take a look at how that works. Okay, we have our little tester here hooked up, and we'll zero out all of our gauges, all of our little knobs. Basically, it gives you 4 different ways to adjust it. This knob right here does 0 to 500 ohms in 50 ohm segments. This one here does 0 to 50 in 1 ohm segments. This one here does, let's see, 0 to 100,000 ohms in, you know, 1,000 ohm, 1,000 times, you know, 20, 30 increments. And this one here does, you know, is 100 ohm increment scale. So we've got our switch on, keys on, and our fuel gauge right now is empty. There's nothing hooked to it. Basically what one leg of our tester hooks to the wire for the fuel sender. The other end just hooks to ground, which in this case is going to be our trunk latch. So what do we want? Let's see. Full should basically be, like I said, 3 to 5 ohms resistance. So let's set this knob at 5 ohms, okay, and we'll turn our little deal on to 5 ohms. Let's see what our gauge does. Aha. look at that, we're getting fuel. If only it were that easy to fill your fuel tank. So she's going up, going up, 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 up. Okay, kind of stopped right there. That's at 5 ohms. It's not quite all the way to the top. So let's back this down a little bit and let's set this at 3 ohms. Only 2 ohms difference. And there you go. The needle's all the way up on full. So you saw actually, 2 ohms resistance made quite a difference as far as the gauge goes. Now, with everything still hooked up, we're going to increase our resistance. Right now we're at 3 ohms. We're going to turn this one to 45 ohms. There's 45 ohms right there. And then we're going to turn this one to 50. So 45 and 50, we're at 95 ohms. Let's see what our gauge does. Yep, we're burning fuel like crazy. Coming down, coming down, coming down. Coming down. Empty. So that basically is the range of operation of this. Like I say, is I'm going to call it 3 ohms to 3 ohms full to 95 ohms empty. And that would be the resistance that's created by our fuel sending unit. Now, I looked at getting several different types, and I could not come up with anything that actually matched the resistance value of this. Now, if you get one that's, say, 0 to 80 ohms, you can put some resistors in line and you can increase the resistance and change the way that the gauge reads. But you know what, I don't want to fool with that, so I'm just going to use the OEM sender and we'll put it in the cell and see what we can do. The cell is a relatively smooth surface. We got some sealer and some gasket material. We'll drill a hole, we'll mount it in the cell, and I'm really think I'll have to cut out the foam where the float goes on the inside. And I'm kind of thinking that we should have an adequate working fuel gauge. Even if it's not 100% perfect, it will be much, much, much better than having nothing at all. So anyways, that's how this works. Like I say, it's a pretty cool little tool. If you ever see one, it's a good addition when you're working on gauges and stuff like that. You can figure out what's going on pretty quickly and easily. Of course, yes, there are other ways of doing it, but like I say, something like this just makes it very, very simple, and you can concentrate more time on the rest of your project. So anyways, do that one-handed. That's what that is. Like I say, it's a snap-on. Works really, really good. Okay, so that's that. So I'm going to shut you guys off for a little bit, and I'm going to kind of position this tank or the cell. I'm going to have to make up a metal line to go off our fuel feed here. The way these work is there's a hose that comes off the bottom of this fitting. It goes down in the bottom and lays across the bottom. So pretty much with these, and when you're out of gas, you're out of gas. It basically sucks it right to the bottom. So I'll get making some pieces, and I'll bring you guys back and show the progress. Okay, so it's the next day. It's now Sunday, January 6th. We've got quite a bit done on our little project here. Let's check out our progress. Okay. The cell is mounted in. As you can see, it fits in there very nicely. we took and drilled a hole in the side of the fuel cell, made some gaskets, put our sending unit in. Let's see this. Hopefully you can see this. We had to, I'll get a light here. We had to cut the foam out for the float for our sending unit. That other little deal that hangs down there is the little thermal unit for the low fuel light. We've got that down there as low as we can. We'll have to see. I think the low fuel light's going to come on a little early, but that shouldn't be an issue. Checked it out, and the gauge works fine, so I think we're good there. Well, we got this is our supply pipe down through the floor. We made a couple of brackets out of some aluminum strip. You got that bolted in so the cell is tight, doesn't move. So what we've got to do now is go into the car, got to plumb in our line. We've got to make a few loops of our vent hose here, and I think what we're going to do with that is just put it up into the old fill pipe where the other tank vent was. And we have to figure out the return line from up front. I think all we're going to do is we're going to tee that in to this, probably before the pump, so it'll just kind of circulate and loop around. And then there's, I think, 1 or 2 vent lines coming from up front, and we'll just tie those in to this as well. So anyways, that's where we're at so far. All good, going well. And the whole idea behind this is, with this, take out the special stick, is when we shut down with a little bit of stuff, you won't even know that that's back there. When you come over here, one thing they do check on emissions test is they check the cap, and so you take the cap off and everything looks normal. So I don't see any problems there so far. My only concern is that the sending unit seal's good in there. I don't, it should, but that would be the only thing that we might have an issue with. I don't want any leaks, of course, inside the car. And once we get this all plumbed up and the fuel in it, and we're sure that everything is okay in the way that we want it, I'm going to, I have some carpet. I have some of this carpet somewhere. I have to find it. And I think what we'll do is we'll actually maybe put some carpet on this, so that will make it stick out a little bit less. It'll kind of blend in more. And so far so good. So like I say, we're up to 15 gallons versus 11.9 before. So hopefully everything works okay. I'm going to cut this off now. I'll upload this and I'll work on stuff under the car, and we'll bring you guys back for the next one, and we'll see how we make out. Alright, so until then, hey, as always, thanks for watching, thanks for the comments, support, and you guys take it easy.